Presented as a declassified documentary, this episode, titled What is Starfleet, explores Starfleet's identity and purpose through the lens of an outsider, Beto Ortegas. The Enterprise intervenes in a brutal conflict between the Lutani and the Kasar to safely transport a mysterious creature known as the Jikaru. As Beto's drone cameras probe deeper, the episode questions whether Starfleet is a force of exploration or an extension of military and colonial ambition. Through candid crew interviews and the moral dilemma surrounding the Jikaru, the narrative leans into uneasy territory until it culminates in a surprisingly sentimental, almost recruitment-style conclusion. Hell yeah. Today's title, What is Starfleet? What does that mean?
What is Starfleet? It was very much given expose. So with the title, just for anybody that doesn't have a clue what Starfleet is, you think it's just this nice, amazing thing. But the way in which Beto approaches it appears like it is a smear campaign, an expose, and like he's really trying to infiltrate and bring them down. So it gave strong military connotation whenever this episode came on, because when it came on I was like, wait, what did I turn on? It's like making sure that, like, was I watching Star Trek? Is that, oh, okay, it is. So yeah.
Corey, does the mockumentary format enhance or undermine the episode's message?
Can you say that word again?
Mockumentary.
I love this.
So I think the mockumentary style, I don't think it enhanced it, but I almost think it took away from it from a small piece of it, right? So I loved it, but I thought it was too much of it. I thought maybe we needed to see maybe a little clips of it here and there, and then to just show just in regular format, because I think it took away from some of the scenes in terms of the interaction, because you were too distracted by all the other things that were going on screen, making it to seem as if it was a found footage, type situation. And I think that some of the emotional scenes kind of were downplayed because of the mockumentary style. I didn't hate it, but at the same time, I was like, that I got why they were doing it.
Oh yeah, your thoughts?
So I was today years old when I heard the word mockumentary. So thank y'all for that. I love it. I'm going to use it every day this week, I assure you. Well, I don't know that it added to it. Wasn't a huge takeaway for me. Kind of agree with Corey. Some of the emotional part was downplayed a bit, but I think they did a great job by culminating it. Once it was all said and done, you got to see their overall love for Starfleet, and that, hey, we're not here to cause harm, to any species. We want to do the best that we possibly can, but we do still have to follow protocol and orders.
So let me ask this question, since both of you kind of alluded to it. Is Beto's filmmaking believable or intentionally flawed?
I think it's intentionally flawed because he had a agenda, and he had already shot so much footage, because they showed little clips of other earlier things that were going on the show. I think he came in with an agenda, but at the end he kind of was like, okay, I get it now, right? So I think he was intentionally trying to sabotage, right, because of his own personal feelings and wanting his sister back and things like that. Or he's maybe it was also a lens too, looking at news media, right, and how their own biases sometimes can influence shows and kind of flip the script in the narrative, so to speak.
Oh yeah.
I think it was very believable. I appreciated the counter lens, as opposed to just having rose-colored eyes and thinking, hey, Starfleet, can do no wrong. And even though, like I said, they tied it up in a nice little bow in the end, appreciated that, but it offered an alternative perspective. And so I could see, especially with the other side, the Lutani, what they were doing, and weaponizing this creature or what have you. Yeah, I think it was a good play. And the fact that they weaved him in to being aboard the aboard the Enterprise before this episode. So we got to see him already doing lots of things with film and what have you before we arrived at this episode.
Okay. All right. You kind of changed my mind on that just a little bit. Oh yeah, you kind of changed my mind. I did not like it at all. I did not like it at all for so many different reasons. It was distracting. It was like you could tell the video was like distorted, and I didn't mind the borders. I didn't mind the borders, but it was less than HD. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it was like, why? This is the future. Why are we doing this? Like the intrusiveness of it. I didn't mind the intrusiveness of it, because it was moving, but it was a lot to get used to, especially because this is supposed to be our future. Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of it was disorienting. But once I got into it, I was just like, okay, I'm going on this ride and I'm here for it. All right. So
what I kind of think too is, as coming from the previous episode was so good, right? And then to come into this episode, it kind of is a little bit of a letdown.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that, because I was going back to the different titles, looking at it on my phone, like thinking, what was the name of the previous episode that I enjoyed? And then like, wait, how did we get here? I'm so glad you brought that up. I feel the exact same way. It wasn't the worst episode ever. It wasn't that. It's just on the back of that and so many other pieces that we wanted kind of more from to come to this was like, okay, all right.
Yeah, and that, and honestly, that's been my take the whole season. I love the show. I love the season, but they have some really great episodes, but they're always sandwiched in between the bull. Like, I don't care about that. I don't care about this shit that you're showing me. I want to go back to what we like.
Look, which is exactly to Jermaine's point. When he asked the question, he didn't try to segue me into things. He'll let me think for myself since I'm a neophyte tricky. But he asked the question, if I were to recommend this show to someone, would I have them start at this season? And my answer was unequivocally, absolutely not. No, I would not have them start at this season. Not taken away, just like you said. I like the season. It's good. I don't regret watching it, but I don't think it's the best one. I do not.
Okay. All right. So many Star Trek fans have been questioning, myself included, whether Starfleet is an exploratory type thing or is it militaristically driven. So this is my question. Is Starfleet, from Beto's perspective, is Starfleet framed as fundamentally exploratory, militaristic, or something else entirely? Let's go with Elliot first.
So from Beto's vantage point, I'm going to go with militaristic. And just simply because, one, again, how he came in, already had his biases, and then the things that he's seen since he's been aboard the Enterprise. Like, I understand on the other side of it, you don't want to get prepared after something happens. So they have to do these things. You don't want to just go out and dick around in space and never come back. So there's that. But just even the way he asked the questions, and even with Mbenga stuff, redacted, like everything is classified. And so they come into the episode with saying, we have these permission and full transparency, and all of this has been declassified, only to get slapped in the face with, I can't recall, redacted. And so everything is top secret. So I can completely understand from Beto's perspective why this is very much given military. What are you not saying? What are you hiding? But this was supposed to be a fully transparent documentary.
Corey?
So I kind of agree, but the only thing that makes me not agree is the fact that when they come upon civilizations that are not at the same level, that their directive states that they cannot interfere, right? And I don't agree with that in a way, but I think it's admirable. But at the same time, if you have the technology for combustible engines, etc., and you see someone, doing everything manual and by horse and buggy, wouldn't you want to bring them up to? Wouldn't you want to bring them up? Right? Wouldn't you want to bring them up?
Into my
Wouldn't you
military.
think
Personally, yes. But if Starfleet bring them up for what? So they can surpass us and then try to attack us?
No. So they could come into the fold, and we could advance the Federation, right? So I think the militaristic and the exploratory kind of is almost its own thing. I don't think it's either or, but they have to have the military aspect because of the unknowns of what they're going to face out there in, the vast territory of space, right? But at the same time, you've seen the humanitarian and you've seen the peacekeeping, time and time again, to make me think that it's not fully militaristic. It's almost like a NATO type, right? NATO plus.
NATO with more power.
NATO with more power.
Yeah. So okay. So for me, for much of my Star Trek journey, in watching Deep Space Nine, you get the idea that it is not militaristic. It is not militaristic. It's defensive for the most part. Mm-hmm. In watching other shows, you get the impression that it is militaristic because, for the most part, we're looking at it from the lens of the Enterprise, and the Enterprise is the flagship, right? And because it's the flagship, that means that it is involved in a lot of military incursions, and so you get the impression that it's more militaristic than it is exploratory or scientific. But Starfleet, in and of itself, is, in my opinion, it's somewhere in between. It's somewhere in between. And I think that for the values of the Federation, that makes sense.
But we were talking about Beto's lens, right?
Well, earlier, that was in the previous question. Okay. No, you're right. You're right. Is Starfleet framed as? You're right. Thank you for bringing me back.
This would have been a whole different question from my lens. I mean, different comment from my lens. But with Beto, like, he ain't.
Beto is like, nah. This is military conquest, and y'all colonizers, and y'all are killing people and all kind of stuff, and y'all don't even realize it, and y'all the worst people in the universe. That's Beto.
Yeah, and he even said colonizers, and so I kind of laughed. I was like, several times he mentioned him as colonizers.
If you can close your mouth, stand by for just a second, you'll see there's more. There is more. There is more.
Let's talk about the moral complexity of this particular episode. How does the episode handle the ethics around the Jikaru?
Initially, we're gonna follow orders. That's it. We've been given an order. It is not my place to question the orders. Just do what is being told. And so, you can see the kind of warring with all the different ensigns or whatever, as Pike is giving the directive from his superior, and you can kind of see them kind of warring in the back of their head, but they're going to give you that blanket "we're non-hazing organization" statement and just go on and move forward and just say, this is Starfleet, this is what we're told to do. Okay. Even though I know this is some BS, I don't want to do it. There are so many unethical ramifications to this. Why do they need this? Why are they trying to do this? What are the Lutani up to? And so...
and no one asked any questions. So that irritated me to a degree, right? That no one asked any questions.
A lot of people ask questions.
I mean, they did, but initially it was the whole, this is what we have to do. When it seemed to me like in previous episodes, they didn't mind breaking the rules whenever they wanted to.
That's always been my beef with Pike. And when you say they, I do mean Pike.
And that's what I mean. I mean Pike. I'm not. I should have said Pike because that's what I mean.
You do it every time you feel like it, to say that little, just okay.
That little scraggly looking girl that he like.
You, Batel, Captain Batel.
Yes.
Which, by the way, why is she never on her ship? Why is she?
Why is she always on their ship?
Her ship was destroyed. That's right. They're probably building them.
And are we ever gonna get back to the fact that she got
worn in her back,
in her back and in her neck and her throat? Did we forget about that? Okay, but that's society.
We're too busy doing hologram episodes
and this shit. We lost the whole meat of the season.
Ain't nothing but thighs. Just thighs. No meat.
Thighs and legs.
Oh, silly. Okay.
Ooh,
Corey, I don't know if you answered. How does this episode handle the ethics around the Jikaru?
So, this was one piece of it that I really actually liked because it at first they were not even thinking of the creature as being sentient, right? They were just looking at it as an object and as something to be used. And then once the light switch flipped on and they discovered that it was, that's when it kind of changed the dichotomy between what was happening, right? And I think that they handled it excellently. But again, it was a whole episode of this.
This made me love the horror even more.
It did. It really, really, really did.
Why is that?
She was willing to pretty much have an aneurysm and hurt herself because she's not Spock. You can't mind meld, but she was able to connect to the creature and being a communication specialist. Like, okay, everybody, I feel like, well, not everybody. I feel like command is ignoring me. I'm saying, hey, maybe we should try talking to the creature. Maybe let's try that before we go completely just war tactic on it, And so I appreciated that she was willing to step up, risk her life. Like, this is why I am here. I want to be a person that affects change. And so I love the fact that she stepped up and no one just expected, well, not no one. She didn't expect Spock to just do it because he had the ability, being that he's Vulcan. So I appreciated that from Uhura.
Do you think that this is a deviation from what we've seen of Star Trek, previous iterations of Star Trek? Because I've kind of felt like they've always tried to connect and establish relationships with the unknown, civilizations unknown, creatures unknown. They're always trying to hail first and, etc., establish that bond first before they immediately go to that next step. Like, I kind of feel like it was, I don't know, I kind of feel like it was out of character maybe. Or am I losing the fact that it was framed as a part of a Federation directive? Like, they didn't just happen to run across this creature, in their normal exploration, that this is a particular situation that they were directed to take care of. And I'm fighting between the two. It's a question to you, Jermaine.
Yes.
I think I understood the last part. I didn't understand the first part of your question.
So I kind of feel like, do we think that the way that they handled initially the Jikaru being a sentient creature, do we think that that's out of character for the show? Because I don't feel like I think that they came to the conclusion that it was sentient way too late. Like, I kind of feel like in other episodes of Star Trek, had they come across some unknown creature, etc., that that would have been one of the first things that they've done, as opposed to realizing at the very end that it was sentient and therefore they were concerned about its well-being.
I think what was different in this particular episode was that the Lutani asked Starfleet for permission to move this sea creature. And at that particular point in time, they didn't know, right? They didn't know. Like, they were coming to the aid of the Lutani. And as a result, it was like, okay, we're going to come to the aid of these creatures, and perhaps at the end of this we can have some type of dialogue, and this would be the impetus for that dialogue, which would possibly get them into the Federation. And so they weren't thinking about the sentience of it. They were just thinking it was an animal, a resource, as Spock said. It's a resource. So why would we assume that it's sentient if we think that the Lutani is a lot like us? Then they wouldn't do something dastardly to a sentient being.
That's a problem in itself for Starfleet, because you need to take a closer look at your allies.
Right.
That is a huge problem.
All right. So, which crew interviews felt most compelling or contrived? I want to go with Elia because both of y'all can be very, very critical in your analysis, of things. But I think right now I want to hear from Elia.
I think, and this it's going to be extremely surface, but I'm going to go with Ortegas because that's her brother, and so I felt like that was most compelling. I felt like he was kind of coming in hot on her, but she was shutting him down at every single turn, and so I really appreciated that interaction. Still wanted a little bit more from that, but that one was probably the most, because that is family, and so we know that things with family are more dramatic.
Corey?
I think Captain Pike's was kind of one of the better, more delivered interviews, because it kind of showcased a different side. It showed him wrestling with the questions that were being asked, and I appreciated that. I love Captain Pike anyway, so I appreciated that from his character. But Uhura's was also the same way, but from a different point of view, right? A humanitarian point of view, a point of view that also questioned Beto's own narrative. So, those two were the best. And Mbega's was just, they could have just not did his, because he ain't say nothing.
Well, believe it or not, it was Mbenga's that meant the most to me, and I'll tell you why. Because he was answering like what I would expect someone in the military to respond. He was like, I don't recall. I don't.
But here's the thing: he's not in the military. He's a science officer.
He's not, and he's a doctor. But at the same time, the things that he did were considered illegal. So for him to admit anything could then open up a Pandora's box for him.
He don't know nothing, because I killed the people and I wasn't supposed to kill the people. And I don't know. From here on out, I don't know nothing. Don't ask me nothing. I ain't see it. I don't know it. I didn't do it.
He might not be
I might not remember my name. I don't even know if I was there, to be honest with you.
Did I scrape video footage? I don't
recall. So in terms of contrived, there were parts of Uhura's interviews that kind of felt contrived for me. It was like the moment when she realized that he was recording her and this was all for like ill intent. It was like, I wish that they had played that off a little bit better. That was what I was hoping for in that particular moment. However, I do get how she was able to put those pieces together, and she was being raw with him. She thought she was talking to a potential lover, right? And so she was going to be more open with him, more vulnerable with him. And so at the end, it paid off. But it might have been like the zoom in camera and all of that made it feel contrived to me. Those were my perceptions.
With her character, do you think that I feel this way, but do you guys also see that there's been a significant change in the way that her character is acted in how she has portrayed her character, either at the direction of production or whatever, from season 1 and 2 to now? I do. Like, I find her more stern. I find her more
in control.
I feel like she's the heavy.
She's developed. And
Yeah.
that's a good thing. We want her to develop. So I think she has. So I don't disagree with you that she does seem a little bit more stern. That lightheartedness is still there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think this is again my opinion. I think they realized in the original show they missed an opportunity with her.
Yeah.
They didn't develop her character to the fullest extent. I mean, we didn't find out her first name was Neota until like years. It was like the 90s when people found out her first name was Neota. So like her character was never fully developed on TOS. And so this is an opportunity now to develop her character. And in what way could they develop her character as a Starfleet officer? Especially she as far as I know, she was a commander, right? Well, yeah. So they have to build things to kind of say, nah, she belongs on the Enterprise, and these are the reasons why she belongs on the Enterprise.
So I said Uhura, I meant Una.
Oh,
Una?
Una?
The question still stands for both. The response is still the same.
Same situation. It was like,
that's yeah.
Same situation. It was like Una was on her character, not Chapel. Number one, she was in one episode of TOS, and that was it. Wow. So they really had to build her character.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right. Question: does the resolution at the end of the episode satisfy? Why or why not?
No, not really.
Why do you say that, Corey?
And he said it's so soft and dainty.
So because I kind of at the end of it, I kind of wanted somebody or a conversation. You know, could have really kind of ended the episode great if the Admiral and Pike had been having a one-on-one conversation, or some screen time where we're showing them talk about the situation and talking about, you know, like almost a debate, if you will, about the complexities of what just happened. I think that would have really kind of put a nail in the end of the episode, because as it stands, you're just kind of left with, oh, okay, you know, everything's okay. When everything, you know what I'm saying? When there's still the possibility, you have this other civilization, who's to say they won't go back and try to do the same thing again, right? And then you have this creature that gave its life for its offspring, not to know whether or not they're truly going to be safe. And Starfleet, having acquired this knowledge, they just gonna go on about their way. They didn't been involved stirring up the pot and fucking around in this whole situation. They're just gonna go off and leave it. You know, whatever happened. You know. So.
Oh yeah.
Let me see. I'm gonna use testing term. It was approaching basic for me. With the culmination. Well, and for the mirror reasons that Corey just mentioned. And so yes, this is what you said you were gonna do, and you know, yada yada yada. Now, don't get me wrong, the way that the creature gave its life, that whole cinematography, that piece was beautiful, beautiful display. I loved the story, love that. But you know, again, the Lutani could still be in pursuit. You know, what is the action plan? What are you going to actually do to ensure that this does happen, other than just saying, hey, if you do this, we're going to do that. You don't want an enemy of Starfleet and blah, 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 blah. But to Corey's point, okay, we know what's really going to happen. Y'all going to continue to explore strange new worlds and go about your business. And these people may very well still pursue these children and use them as weapons of mass destruction. Yep. So, yeah. So for me, I don't know if we would go with completely satisfied as opposed to approaching basic.
Considering all the things that they learned, right?
Yes.
What was abandoned in this particular episode? Like, so Corey was like, "Hey, if the Admiral and the Captain had this discussion, talking about the ethics and the morality of the situation, that was a potential thread that was abandoned. What other critical threads were abandoned?
who's actually put eyes on these creatures?
Yeah.
You know, where they are, you know, are they actually safe? Even now, in the middle of this conversation, who's to say the Lutani haven't already sent out an explorer ship or something like that? Or even, you know, I would have liked to see something like that for the drama. Like, okay, they're turning around to potentially still go and try to get the species to use them as a weapon to hold Starfleet fleet accountable with doing what they say they're going to do.
So earlier, Corey was talking about how the media can sometimes put its spin on things. How might this episode mirror contemporary discussions about military intervention and narrative framing?
So this is gonna turn into a political discussion now. So so where we are today is there's always three sides, right? There's the left, the right, and then there is the middle, right? But before there was commentary in the news, there was always the truth, right? There was the story. These are the facts. This is what happened. This is what was said by both sides or the people and parties involved. There were no talking heads on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, etc., that were spinning the story, right, in support or against. It was, these are the facts. This is what's happened in the world today, and here what the parameters of what has happened and what potentially could happen as a result. I think today, because of that, it's so polarizing, right? And depending on which station that you're looking at, you can get a completely different version of the exact same event. And you see that kind of similarly potentially being the case with Beto's position and framing of his story. Could look at the events and the story of Starfleet and how they maneuver and operate. He can have a completely different take looking at the same facts because of his own narrative that he has placed on what he's seen, as opposed to just stating the facts of what he's showing.
Oh yeah.
In the mind of the ignorant, they're impressionable. And so mass media is just that. It's massive. It's everywhere. So you have multiple people spinning multiple narratives. And so certainly that can shape the way anybody thinks, if you're, or at least those that are feeble of mind. So that's an issue in and of itself. And there's no off button. At any given time, you can have this information or misinformation rather readily available. And so that's the scary part. I guess that's the double-edged sword, you know, of technology and mass media. But I know that I have the great gift of being able to spin anything. It makes it sound great. And so do I use my powers for evil? Absolutely not. But this is the world that we live in. So it really is kind of terrifying when you think about it.
For me, so what this particular episode did for me was it left me saying, oh, okay, the Federation is not mindless. The Federation is filled with people who have their thoughts and opinions, and they continuously question themselves. They question themselves, and they question the actions of those in authority. That made me feel good about the world that was created in terms of the Federation. In terms of military intervention, what I did not like about this episode was that military leaders just went straight ahead. These were our orders. This is what we have to do. Even our military question whether they have the right, they have the authority, they have the duty to question whether or not orders are moral or not, right? It is their job to question whether or not orders are moral. In the end, that is exactly what happened. But it took science, it took evidence for them to prove it. Where does that leave us? It's a clusterfuck. It's a clusterfuck of people with filled with good intentions who make a lot of bad decisions, and those bad decisions can sometimes cause a mess.
Are we speaking Star Trek or are we speaking
Both?
Like
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah. But so all right, I'm gonna challenge that by saying good people making bad decisions. All those people good. We are under the assumption that all those people are good. What if they aren't?
And you know what? That is a philosophical question. You would like to, in the Federation, you would like to believe that everyone is well intended, but you don't always know.
And at that point, it becomes more about the entity than the individuals, because I mean, you could name drop, but it's gonna still come out Starfleet did this, you know, so it would be the entity.
Well, that's my last question. On a scale of Mayfair to 10, hell yeah, what would you give this particular episode?
For me, this one's probably a 6.5.
Cord.
Same. 6.5.
I'm gonna go on ahead and give it a 7. Give it a 7.
Now the last episode was 8.
Okay. All right. I'm giving it a 7. I'm giving it a 7, not because it was great. I see the potential of this particular episode. I don't think that it was executed in the way in which I would have liked.
Right.
But yeah, I saw the potential. Yes, sir.
You was about to say any other questions and thoughts? So I think the thing that we kind of mentioned this earlier when we started talking about when we started covering the show, is that Star Trek has always been the show that shines a mirror on the ills of society, and much like the Twilight Zone did in the original with Rod Serling. We should cover that maybe one day. But I think where this episode failed is that it didn't do enough to mirror society to the point where we're getting some sort of point or conclusion. I think that's where it failed. That's why, for me, that's why I got a 6.5.
Okay. If there were like perhaps a bad guy in this particular episode, in this particular episode, it wasn't necessarily a bad guy. It was just a lot of people who were acting based off of self-interest, right? And so we were just seeing, self-interest
or ignorance,
but there was no bad guy per se. And if we had seen a bad guy, then perhaps that would have given a conclusion that was satisfying. Perhaps. Your thoughts, Elia?
I would have liked a better resolve. And I would have liked to see more from that Lutani doctor before she flatlined, because, she was the one to say, hey, we were wrong. So we could have played up that scene a bit more and played down some of the other kind of unnecessary parts of the show. So yeah, I want a little more resolve and a little bit more from that character.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all so very much for watching. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share on all your social media. Live long and prosper.